world? Well, here's the brutal truth. Your brand new business has a nearly 50-50 shot of not even making it to its 5th birthday. So in this explainer, we're going to dig into the real reason.
So many aspiring entrepreneurs staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. And look, if you've ever felt that pit in your stomach, you are definitely not alone. The reasons? Well, they're more common and way more preventable than you'd probably think. And there it is, the number, 48%. Just shy of half of all small businesses in the US are gone by year 5. That's a pretty stark figure, but you know what? Understanding it is the very first step to beating it. This isn't about luck. It's about avoiding a few critical and really common pitfalls. This chart right here tells a really critical story. So about 23% of businesses fail in that first, absolutely frantic year. But that climb all the way to 48% by year 5, that shows that survival isn't some single sprint. It is a marathon. Getting past that 1-year mark is a huge milestone for sure, but the real challenges are often just getting started. So, what are these challenges really? Well, we've boiled them down to the 5 most common reasons businesses fail. You can think of these as like the 5 big bosses you have to defeat to win the game of entrepreneurship. Let's break them down, one by one. And here we have it, the number 1 killer. And get this, it's not about profit. Not really. A business can be profitable on paper and still go completely under. This is a timing problem. It's all about money going out the door faster than it's coming in. Underestimating your costs, clients who pay late, bad budgeting, it all leads right here to the cash flow crypt. This quote from founder Philip Blackett just puts a human face on it all, doesn't it? He bought an established business, but when things got tough, he learned that cash is absolutely king. This is the reality of a cash flow crisis. It forces you to ask that one terrible question. Is my business funding my life, or is my life funding my business? So how do you avoid the crypt? Okay, 3 things. First, run lean. Operate with a minimum viable budget. Second, build a cash reserve like your life depends on it, because your business's life really does. And third, and this is huge, find an accountant who is a strategic partner, not just a person who files your taxes once a year. Coming in at number 2 is a really heartbreaking one. You spend months, maybe even years, building the perfect product, only to find out that nobody actually wants to buy it. It turns out around 35% of failures happen simply because there just isn't a real market need for what's being sold. Ouch. This slide just illustrates the core mistake perfectly, and founder Karen Kahn, she lived it. She built this whole video platform she was sure women wanted, and she later called it a mortifying experience to watch Google Analytics and see only 1 or 2 users on the site. She built the product on the left, what I want to build, without ever validating the market on the right. The takeaway here is so simple, but it's not always easy. You have to do your homework. Talk to real people before you start building. Use free tools like Google Trends to see if people are even searching for solutions to the problem you think you're solving. And please, launch a minimal version first, just to test the waters. Okay, this next one is for all the perfectionists and control freaks out there. You know who you are. The founder is the visionary, of course, but trying to be the CEO, the marketer, the accountant, and the janitor, that is a recipe for burnout, and honestly, for pretty poor performance. You just can't be an expert at everything. Philip Blackett learned this lesson too. After trying to wear every single hat in his business, he had this huge realization that true success is a team sport. Knowing your weaknesses is actually a strength. It's what allows you to build a team that fills in all your gaps. Have you ever heard that phrase, if you build it, they will come? It's a great line from a movie, but it is a terrible business strategy. One entrepreneur named Marcy actually admitted she thought clients would just magically show up after she launched her business. They didn't. Ineffective marketing is the silent killer behind 22% of business failures. And finally, we have the killer that kind of enables all the others. Just a lack of a clear plan. Flying blind, like you see here, means you're always reacting instead of steering. You end up with cash flow problems because you didn't plan for them. Or you build a product for no one because you never did the research. A solid business plan forces you to answer those tough questions before they become fatal mistakes. Okay, we've walked through the graveyard. We've seen the top 5 reasons businesses fail. And yeah, it's a little grim, I know. But here's where we make a pivot. Because for every single business that fails, there's one that survives and absolutely thrives. So the question becomes, what are they doing differently? All right, this section is all about building a path to success. Being the exception. It isn't about having some secret formula. It's about specific mindsets and strategies that build resilience. It's about learning from all those mistakes we just covered and actively working to counteract them. So what does this actually look like in practice? Well, first, it's embracing agility. Founder Tu-Hien Lei lived this. She was constantly making small improvements based on a running log of customer feedback. Second, it's listening and being willing to pivot. Remember Karen Kahn? Her failed platform gave her the core insight for her massively successful one, iFund Women. It's also about building a real team, like Allison Conway did for her agency, so you're not going it alone. And finally, it's using technology as a lever to work smarter, not just harder. These aren't just buzzwords. They are active, daily survival strategies. Okay, let's turn all of this insight into a clear, actionable plan. This is your survival checklist. These are the things you can literally start doing today to build a business that lasts way beyond that critical 5-year mark. First and foremost, it is a mental shift. You have to evolve from being the founder, the person who does everything, to being the CEO. 2, marketing reach. Did we connect with new people this week? And 3, customer feedback. What are people telling us? This simple ritual keeps you focused on what truly, truly matters. So, let's put it all together. Here is your final checklist. 1, validate your idea before you spend big. 2, plan your cash flow obsessively. 3, know what you're bad at and get help. 4, market consistently. And 5, maybe the most important one, listen, adapt, and never, ever quit learning. You got to remember, every massive success story
We're
out
doing
there
something
is just
a little
the final
different today.
draft.
Usually
You never
we're
see
all
the
about
messy
the shiny
first
side of the
attempts,
coin.
the painful lessons
how to
that made it all
scale,
possible. The goal isn't to avoid failure. It's to learn, adapt, and build something resilient enough to last. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Which of these 5 killers are you most focused on defeating right now?
Optimize how to win. But today we're looking at a stack of research titled The Survival Blueprint. And honestly, it reads a bit like a ghost story for entrepreneurs. We're looking at why businesses die.
It's the side of the coin nobody likes to look at, but it's where all the actual lessons are buried.
It is. And the opening hook in this research is just impossible to ignore. It starts with this brutal truth. Nearly half of all small businesses hit a wall and collapse before their 5th birthday.
It's basically a coin toss.
It is. You start a venture, you pour your life into it, and you've got a 50-50 shot of even existing in 5 years.
And that's just the average. I mean, if you look at the danger zone breakdown in the data, it gets even more granular, about 23.2%.
Nearly a quarter.
Exactly, nearly a quarter of everyone who files paperwork to start a company, they don't even make it to the first anniversary. That's the infant mortality stage of entrepreneurship.
That's the part that grabs me. You spend months dreaming, planning, maybe quitting a safe job. And statistically, 1 in 4 won't even last 12 months. But I want to be clear about the mission here.
Yeah.
We aren't doing this to scare everyone off or to be depressing.
No, quite the opposite.
The goal here is to perform an autopsy. We have access to what the sources call the business graveyard. We know exactly what killed these companies. And the logic is simple. If you know where the landmines are.
You can actually walk through the field without blowing up.
Exactly. The sources outline a survival blueprint. It's optimistic, but only if you're willing to look at these top 5 killers objectively. It's about moving from I hope I survive to I have a strategy to survive.
For sure.
Before we get into the specific killers, there was one piece of data in the intro that I found really strange. It wasn't about what you sell or who you are. It was about where you are.
The geography of failure.
Right. The sources highlighted this massive. If you start a business in a city like Hull or Luton, the failure rates spike above 44%.
Yeah.
But then you go to Belfast, and the failure rate dropped 26%.
That's a huge swing.
Massive swing just based on a zip code. Why is that? Is it just bad luck?
It's not luck. It really highlights that businesses don't exist in a vacuum. We tend to think if my idea is good, I'll win. But the data suggests that the ecosystem, the local support networks, cost of living, community, it acts like a multiplier. If you're in one of those high failure zones, you're basically swimming upstream against the current of your local economy. You have to work twice as hard to get the same result.
So environment really matters.
Oh.
But let's say you're in a good environment, you got a good idea. You still have to face the top 5 killers. And killer number 1 is the big one. The sources call it the cash flow crypt.
This is the undisputed heavyweight champion of business failure. Running out of money.
But I want to push on this because running out of money sounds so obvious. Of course, if you have no money, you stop. But the sources make a distinction that I think a lot of first-time founders miss.
Right.
This isn't necessarily about not being profitable on paper, is it?
No, and that's the trap. You can look at your profit and loss statement and see a profit. You sold the widgets, you sent the invoices, you are technically profitable. But if that cash hasn't physically hit your bank account and payroll is due on Friday, you're dead.
It's a timing mismatch.
It is specifically a timing problem. Expenses, rent, software, staff are usually immediate. Revenue is often delayed. If your clients pay in 60 days, but you pay staff every 14 days, you have a 46-day death valley where you are just bleeding cash.
The sources use the story of Philip Blackett to illustrate this. And honestly, the irony here is thick.
Yeah.
He bought an established business, a cemetery
You
business.
can't make that up. A literal graveyard business.
So he buys this business thinking it's a safe bet. I mean, people always need cemeteries, right? But then the pandemic hits. And this is where the crypt opens up for him. What happened to his cash flow?
Well, the external environment just froze. His revenue streams became totally unpredictable, but his fixed costs, maintenance, land administration, they stayed exactly the same. So that gap between money in and money out got way too wide.
And this is the painful part of the story. He didn't just declare bankruptcy and walk away. He tried to bridge that gap himself.
He liquidated personal assets. He took himself off the payroll. He literally got a second job to funnel his personal paycheck back into the company.
That is just a terrifying image. Working a 9 to 5 just to feed a business that's eating your savings, it feels like the business is owning you.
It is. And it happened because he underestimated the buffer. He didn't have that cash reserve the blueprint recommends. He just assumed the cash would keep flowing. And when it stopped, he had no oxygen tank.
So what's the fix? If the cash flow crypt is about timing and buffers, how do we avoid it?
Two things. First, operate with what they call a minimum viable budget. Strip it down. But the second one is more critical. Fire your historian accountant.
That's a harsh term. Explain that.
Most entrepreneurs hire an accountant just to file taxes. That is looking backward. Here's what you spent last year. That's history. It's useful for the IRS, but useless for survival. To survive, you need a proactive accountant who looks forward. You need someone building cash flow forecasts telling you, hey, in 3 months, you're going to hit a wall unless we change X, Y, or Z.
So you need a navigator, not a scribe.
Precisely. You need to see the cliff before you drive off it.
Okay, so that's killer number 1. The money runs out. But let's say you have the cash, you have the runway. Killer number 2 is waiting. And this one, it attacks your ego. The sources call it the mirage.
The mirage is responsible for about 35% of failures, and it's simply no market need.
This is the field of dreams fallacy, right? If you build it, they will come.
Which is the most dangerous lie in entrepreneurship. Founders fall in love with their solution before they validate the problem. They spend a year building a beautiful app or product because they think it's cool, assuming the world will agree.
And we have a case study for this. Karen Kahn. She founded V Proud. It was a video platform specifically for women to have safe conversations. On paper, that sounds noble.
It sounds like something that should exist, and she poured her heart and her own money into building it. She fully launched it.
And then came the reality check. She describes looking at Google Analytics after the launch. She's expecting that line to go up and to the right, and instead...
Silence. 1 user, maybe 2.
She calls it a mortifying experience. And I think we need to pause on that word. It's not just a financial loss. It's embarrassing. You told everyone you were building the next big thing, and nobody cares.
That's the mirage. She was basically hallucinating demand because she wanted it to be there. This is classic confirmation bias. You only look for signs that you're right and ignore the silence.
So how do you avoid being Karen in that moment? The sources mention validation, but what does that actually mean? Asking your friends.
Definitely not. Your friends lie to you because they love you. They'll say, that's a great idea, because they don't want to hurt your feelings. The survival blueprint says you need to be a scientist. You need data from strangers.
Okay, so give me an example of how you get that data without building the whole product first.
Use Google Trends. Are people actually typing the problem you solve into the search bar? If nobody is searching for video platform for women, that's a red flag. Or try to sell it before you build it. Put up a landing page, see if people will give you an email address.
Or pre-order.
Yes, if they won't even give you an email, they certainly won't give you money later.
You have to prove yourself wrong before you build the factory.
Exactly. You want to fail cheap and fast rather than expensive and slow.
This leads right into killer number 4. I'm skipping orders slightly because it connects to the Mirage. This is the silent storefront.
Right. This is the marketing piece. Let's say you do have a product people want. You validated it. But if they don't know you exist, you still die. 22% of failures come from just ineffective marketing.
And the case study here is Marcy. She fell into that trap of thinking quality is enough. She thought clients would just magically appear.
And the result was 0 clients. This is the difference between brand awareness and hope. Marcy was operating on hope.
But isn't marketing expensive? I feel like a lot of early businesses just don't have the budget for it.
That's the misconception. The sources are pretty strict here. They say you cannot turn marketing on and off like a faucet. It has to be an engine. It has to run constantly in the background. And it doesn't need a Super Bowl budget, but it needs a strategy from day one.
So you can't build a product and then think about how to sell it.
No, the selling mechanism has to be part of the build.
So we've got running out of money, building something nobody wants, and staying invisible. Those are structural killers. But the next two, these feel more personal. They're about the founder's psychology.
Yes. Killer number 3 is the one-man band trap.
I feel personally attacked by this one. This is the founder trying to do everything, right?
It is, and the source material makes a really crucial distinction here between a visionary and a manager.
Break that down.
A visionary is the person with the spark, the idea, I want to change how people buy coffee. A manager is the person who ensures that coffee beans are ordered, the staff is paid, and the floor is swept. And very rarely is one human being excellent at both.
But in the beginning, you have to be both. You can't afford to hire a manager day one.
You do, but the trap is staying there too long. We have to bring Philip Blackett back, the cemetery owner. We talked about his cash flow, but the sources say he also burned out because he tried to wear every single hat: operations, sales, HR.
And his realization was brutal. He said, "Success dependent on me. It is all about the team."
That is a hard pill for a control freak to swallow, but the data shows that businesses that don't delegate stagnate. You become the bottleneck of your own company. You have to fire yourself from the jobs you aren't good at.
Which brings us to the final killer, killer number 5, the identity crisis.
This is essentially shiny object syndrome. It happens when you don't have a clear plan.
Look, a competitor is doing X, we should do X, or look, a new social media platform.
Exactly. You're reacting, not steering. If you don't have a roadmap, a business plan that defines who you are, every new opportunity looks like a good idea. And you end up running in circles until you run out of fuel.
The sources emphasize that a business plan doesn't need to be some 100-page novel that just gathers dust.
No, keep it lean. But it needs to be a filter. When a new shiny object appears, you look at the plan and ask, does this help us get to the goal? If the answer is no, you ignore it.
So that's the gauntlet. Cash flow, the Mirage, the silent storefront, the one-man band, and the identity crisis. It's a miracle anyone survives.
It is daunting. But, and this is the promise here, we aren't just here to list the ways to die. The survival blueprint gives us the antidote. It gives us a guide on how to be the exception.
And the core of this guide seems to be about agility, the ability to pivot.
Yes. The sources highlight some really incredible redemption stories.
Let's talk about Tu Hanley. I loved this because it's so practical. She had a very niche business selling cushions for breast pumps.
Very specific.
Yeah.
And instead of the field of dreams approach, she inverted it. She kept a living document of all her customer feedback.
She treated her customers like co-founders.
Essentially, she wasn't guessing what they wanted, she was recording it. And she made small, constant improvements based on that feedback. So the product actually solved the specific problems people were complaining about.
And what happened?
She got organic word-of-mouth growth. She bypassed the silent storefront because her customers did the marketing for her.
And then we have the redemption of Karen Kahn. We left her earlier staring at her empty analytics for vProud. Most people would have just quit right there.
Most would, but she analyzed the failure. She realized that while she was struggling to fund her own business, she had learned a massive amount about crowdfunding.
So she realized the market need wasn't for a video platform. The market need was for money.
Specifically, a platform to help women fund their own businesses. So she pivoted. She took the wreckage of vProud and built I Fund Women, which became a massive success.
That is the definition of agility. I built X. Nobody wanted X. But in the process, I learned they desperately want Y, so I will build Y.
Exactly. Failure wasn't the end. It was just data.
There's one more pivot story here, Allison Conway. She failed at a styling business.
Yes. But in the process of building that styling business, she realized she was actually really good at building the website for it.
So she stopped styling people and started building websites.
She pivoted to a web design agency. Again, it's about recognizing your actual strengths versus your perceived passion. She leaned into the skills she did have.
So if we want to apply this, if I'm listening to this and I want to ensure I make it past year 5, what are the concrete steps? The sources provide a survivor's guide.
There are 4 pillars here. The first is that mindset shift we discussed. Move from doer to strategist. Stop baking the cupcakes and start running the bakery.
The second pillar is one I think everyone should adopt immediately. It's called the weekly ritual.
This is a non-negotiable 30-minute meeting. Every single week, you sit down with your partners or just yourself, and you look at 3 things.
What are they?
1, cash flow. Real numbers. What came in, what went out. No hiding from the bank balance. 2, marketing. Did we actually execute on our strategy this week? And 3, feedback. What did a customer say this week that was good or bad?
That's it.
That's it. But if you do that 52 times a year, you will never be blindsided. You'll spot the cash crunch before it happens. You'll spot the bad feedback before it destroys your reputation.
I love the simplicity of that. The third pillar is about fighting isolation. Build a board of advisors.
Isolation is a silent killer. When you're the boss, you have nobody to talk to. You can't tell your employees you're scared of missing payroll.
Right, and you can't always tell your spouse because you don't want to worry them.
So you find peers. The advice here isn't to hire expensive consultants. It's to find 2 or 3 other business owners who are not your competitors and meet with them monthly.
Like a support group.
A strategic support group. Here are my numbers. Here's my problem. What would you do? Having that outside perspective breaks the echo chamber.
And the final pillar. This is my favorite concept in the whole text. Profitable pragmatism.
This is the antidote to the whole Silicon Valley unicorn or bust mentality. We're sort of brainwashed into thinking that if you aren't growing 100% year over year, you're failing.
Blitzscaling.
Right. But profitable pragmatism says, chase profitability, not just growth. A small business that actually puts money in your pocket is a success. A huge business that burns cash and stresses you out is a failure.
It's about unit economics.
Yes.
Yeah.
Does selling this one thing actually make money? If yes, great. If no, selling 1 million of them just means you go broke faster. Don't scale until the foundation is solid.
It's a healthy reality check. We get so caught up in revenue vanity. We did 1 million in sales, but if you spent 1.2 million to get it, you lost.
Exactly. Survival is about sustainability.
So to recap the survival blueprint, we have to watch out for the 5 killers. The cash flow crypt, the mirage, the silent storefront, the one-man band, and the identity from the conclusion. It said failure is often the final draft editor.
It's a beautiful metaphor.
We see the success stories, the iFund women, and we think they just got it right on the first try. We don't see the messy first drafts. We don't see the V-proud failure.
And that is so vital for our listeners. If you're struggling right now, if you're stuck in the crypt or the mirage, it doesn't mean the book is over. It just means you're in the editing phase. You're finding out what doesn't work so you can find what does.
That's a powerful way to look at it. You aren't failing, you're editing.
Precisely. Philip Blackett, Karen Can, Allison Conway, they all failed first. The difference is they didn't stop. They used the failure as information.
So what does this all mean for you? If you're sitting there with a business plan on a napkin, or if you're 5 years in and sweating payroll, take a breath. Look at the 5 killers. Be honest, brutally honest about which one is hunting you right now.
And implement that weekly ritual. Validate your next big idea before you spend a dime. And please get a proactive accountant.
Seriously, fire the historian and hire a navigator.
It might save your business.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought. It's a question that really stuck with me, and it challenges that hustle culture mindset. We talked about profitable pragmatism, but I want you to ask yourself this. Is your business funding your life, or is your life funding your business?
That is the ultimate question.
If your life is funding your business, if you're draining your savings, your health, your relationships, just to keep the entity alive, you might need to pause. You might need to look at that mirage and make a hard decision.
Because the goal of a business is to support you, not to consume you.
Exactly. Survival isn't just about the business staying open. It's about you staying sane and solvent. Thanks for diving deep with us today. We hope this blueprint helps you navigate the graveyard and come out the other side. Until next time, keep building.
You know, we talk so much about the dream in the startup world. That spark of an idea, the passion, and, the moment you finally flip the sign to open.
And you're just waiting for that stampede of customers.
Exactly. It's romantic, it's exciting, but there is a statistic in the research we have today that is just a bucket of ice water on that whole fire.
It is.
Huh.
It's the brutal truth most founders try to, well, ignore until it's way too late.
The numbers say that nearly half of all small businesses hit a wall and just disappear before their 5th birthday.
Half.
It's essentially a coin flip, a 50-50 chance. And that terrified me when I read it because we're not talking about pocket change here. This is people's life savings.
Exactly. And that's why we're doing this deep dive today. We aren't here to be gloomy or, write an obituary.
Right.
Think of this as more of a forensic analysis. We want to walk through what we're calling the business graveyard. Look at why businesses end up there.
So you can be part of the group that survives.
That's the mission.
I love that framing. We're looking for the survival blueprint. We have to get past that dream phase, which feels great, but it doesn't pay the bills.
Mhm.
And look at the raw data.
The real stories.
Ugh.
Because the timeline of failure is actually really specific, isn't it?
It is.
If you look at the data, the first year, surprisingly, isn't the deadliest. It's about 23.2% of businesses that don't make it past year 1.
Which is high, but it still means 3/4 survive that first lap. You're probably running on adrenaline and, some initial savings.
Correct. But by year 5, that's when the number climbs. It goes up to roughly 48%. Some studies even push it to 60%, depending on the industry.
Wow.
It just shows you that, enthusiasm and capital can get you started, but they can't keep you going. That's the valley of death.
Okay, but this is where it got really interesting for me. It's not just what you do, it's where you do it.
Mhm.
The sources brought up this location factor that I hadn't really considered.
Oh, it's a huge variable. The data we looked at was from the UK, but the principle is global. In cities like Hull or Luton, the failure rates are up over 44%.
Okay.
But then you look at a place like Belfast, and the failure rate drops way down to around 26%.
That is a massive difference. It's not just about your grit then, it's about the soil you're planting in.
Precisely. It tells us that businesses don't exist in a vacuum. Survival is tied to local support networks, the economy, community. If you plant a great seed in bad soil, no mentorship, poor infrastructure, it just doesn't matter how good that seed is.
So we got the landscape, we know the odds. Let's start unpacking the causes.
Yeah.
What is the absolute number one killer?
We call this one the cash flow crypt.
The cash flow crypt.
The number one reason businesses fail, time and again, is running out of money.
Okay, but let's get specific here because I think a lot of people hear that and think it just means not making a profit.
And that's a dangerous misconception. You can be profitable on paper, you've sold things for more than they cost, but still go bankrupt. It's a timing problem.
So profit is a theory, but cash is a fact.
Exactly. Your money's going out faster than it's coming in. Maybe your clients are on net 60 or net 90-day terms.
Mhm.
But your rent, your payroll, your utilities,
Mhm.
they're due now. And if you didn't budget for that lag, you just hit a wall.
There was that really powerful story in the research about Philip Blackett. And the irony is just, well, you couldn't make it up.
It is deeply ironic.
He
He bought an established cemetery business.
literally bought a business for the graveyard and then almost ended up in the business graveyard himself.
He did. He bought an existing business, which feels safer, right? You have history, you have customers. But then the pandemic hit.
And the whole world changed overnight.
The cash flow didn't just slow down, it dried up. Families weren't buying expensive plots, funerals were getting delayed, but his overheads,
Still there, constant.
rent, maintenance, probably debt from buying the business, all constant. He was burning cash with zero runway.
So what does he do?
He had to liquidate assets. He took himself off the payroll. He even had to get a second job just to keep the business alive.
Wow. That's a huge wake-up call. So what's the fix? It can't just be make more sales, right? Because more sales can actually mean more costs up front.
Exactly. Trying to grow your way out of it can actually speed up the bankruptcy.
Yeah.
No, the takeaway is to operate with a minimum viable budget.
No, the absolute lowest number you need to keep the lights on if revenue just stops.
Right. And the sources also talked about the type of financial advice you get. This idea of a historian versus a navigator.
Yeah, I like that.
Most people hire an accountant to file taxes. That person's a historian. They tell you what happened last year. That's useless for survival.
You need someone looking through the windshield, not the rearview mirror.
You need a proactive accountant, basically a fractional CFO. Someone who says, hey, based on your current burn rate, if we don't land a new client by October, we are out of cash.
And that gives you time to react.
Time to react. A tax filer just tells you what you owe after the ship is already sunk.
Okay, that shift from historian to forecaster is huge. Let's move to the second killer. This one, I think, hurts the ego more than the bank account, at least at first.
It does. We're calling this one the market mirage.
The mirage. I like that. You see water in the desert, but it's just sand.
And this accounts for about 35% of failures. It's the simple, very painful truth of building something that nobody actually wants.
We have the perfect case study for this with Karen Ken. She launched a platform called Be Proud.
Right. She put her own money into this, a video platform for women. In her mind, the need was obvious. She built what she wanted.
But she didn't check if anyone else did. And the description of her watching her Google Analytics, I mean, it's just visceral. She called it a mortifying experience.
It's the founder's nightmare, logging in expecting thousands of users and seeing one or two.
And she fell into that trap where you ask your friends and family, right, is this a good idea?
Of course. And friends and family lie. They want to be supportive. They say, that sounds amazing. But that isn't market validation.
Right.
Validation is when a stranger pulls out their credit card.
And this is so closely related to the fourth killer on our list, which is what happens when you do have a product, but you're just whispering about it. The silent storefront.
Ah, the field of dreams fallacy. If you build it, they will come.
Doesn't work that way in business.
No, in business, usually, crickets.
Yeah.
Nothing happens. About 22% of failures come from just ineffective marketing.
The story of Marcy, an entrepreneur who launched and just waited.
She did almost no marketing. She just assumed clients would find her. They didn't. She treated marketing like a luxury.
But in this economy, marketing is the work. If you have the cure for cancer and it's sitting in your fridge, you don't have a business, you just have a secret.
Exactly.
So for both the mirage and the silent storefront, what is the vaccine? How do you prevent this?
It starts with validation before you launch, before you spend the money. You don't have to build the whole thing.
Just test the idea.
Test it. Use Google Trends. Put up a simple landing page. Try to sell it before you build it. If people click buy, you've got something. If they don't, you just saved yourself a year and 50 grand.
Okay, so we've covered money and market. Now let's talk about the person in charge. The third killer seems to be the founder trying to be a superhero.
The one-man band trap. It's so common. The founder is the visionary, the manager, the HR department, the sales team.
And the janitor. We saw this with Philip Blackett again, didn't we?
We did. He burned out completely wearing every single hat. And he eventually had this huge realization. Success is not dependent on me doing everything. It's all about the team.
That's a hard pill to swallow for a control freak. And let's be honest, most founders are.
It is, but it's necessary. If the business can't run without you, you don't own a business. You own a job, a very stressful, high-risk job.
And this connects to the fifth killer, which is about identity and planning.
The identity crisis. This happens when there's no focus. You see founders chasing every shiny object, every new trend.
Or they spend all their time comparing themselves to their competitors.
Yes. The story of Allison Conway fits perfectly here. She started a styling business. It failed.
But the failure wasn't the end.
No. She realized her identity wasn't stylist. She realized that in the process of building that failed business, she'd become really, really good at web design.
So she pivoted, but it was a strategic correction.
Exactly. She shifted her identity. She built an agency around her actual skill. And that's the shift from founder, the person in love with their idea, to CEO, the strategist in love with the problem.
That word pivot comes up so much with the survivors. We've covered the killers. Now let's look at how you beat the odds.
The common thread is agility. It's the ability to adapt based on feedback, not just stubbornly stick to your first plan.
Tu Hin Le is a great example. Breast pump cushions.
A very niche product. But what she did so brilliantly was she kept a living document of every piece of customer feedback.
So she wasn't just reading reviews, she was treating them as data.
As data. And she made constant small improvements based on it. The result wasn't some huge explosion, it was organic word-of-mouth growth. Her customers were co-creating the product with her.
And we have to go back to Karen Khan for a great redemption story.
Oh, it's a perfect example of failing forward. Her first business, Be Proud, failed because she didn't validate the market. But in trying to save it, she ran a crowdfunding campaign.
And what did she learn?
She learned that the struggle to get funding was a huge universal pain point for women. She listened to what the failure was telling her, so she pivoted and created I Fund Women.
Which became a massive success. She failed at building a video platform, but succeeded at solving the problem she discovered while failing.
That's the essence of it. It's not about avoiding failure. It's about not letting the failure be fatal and using it as information.
We should also mention the role of tools here. The sources talked about using technology to solve that one-man band problem.
Yes. If you're a small team, technology is your lever. It's your force multiplier. Inventory management software, generative AI for marketing copy. These tools let you punch above your weight.
Okay, so let's pull this all together. If I'm listening to this right now, what's my checklist? What do I need to do?
Let's make it a simple survival checklist. First, validate with real people. Strangers. If they aren't trying to give you money, you don't have a business yet.
Second,
Plan cash flow obsessively. Be conservative. Assume money comes in late and goes out early. Build a runway.
the third.
Know your weaknesses.
Yeah.
If you're bad at numbers, hire that proactive accountant. If you hate sales, find someone who loves it. Don't be everything.
Fourth.
Market consistently. It is the oxygen for your business. Don't turn it off.
And finally,
Listen and adapt. Let your customers guide you.
there's also this specific ritual mentioned, the non-negotiable weekly check-in. This feels super practical.
This is a game changer. It's a 30-minute meeting with yourself or your partners every single week. You review 3 things.
Number 1, cash flow.
What actually came in, what went out, what's our burn rate? No guessing.
Number 2, marketing.
Did we reach new people this week? If the answer is no, that's an alarm bell.
And number 3, customer feedback.
What are they saying? The complaints, not just the compliments. What does it tell us to do next? If you do this every week, you will spot the icebergs before you hit them.
Another huge point was about isolation. Being a founder is so lonely.
Isolation is a silent killer. It leads to echo chambers where your bad ideas sound good because no one's there to challenge you. The advice is to build a board of advisors.
And this isn't some formal corporate thing, right?
Not at all. It's finding a small group of peers, 2 or 3 other business owners who are not your competitors, people you can meet with once a month and just be honest. Hey, my marketing isn't working.
Just hearing someone say, yeah, I went through that last year, here's what I did, must be a lifesaver.
It normalizes the struggle. It turns the one-man band into an orchestra.
Before we wrap, I want to touch on this idea of profitable pragmatism, because the startup world is all scale, growth, 10x.
And it's a dangerous narrative. It pushes people to grow too fast, burn through their cash, and die. Profitable pragmatism is about redefining success.
Success isn't always becoming the next Amazon.
No. Sometimes success is paying yourself a good salary and having a life. A profitable business that funds your life is a monumental success.
So what's the final takeaway for the listener who's staring at that open sign right now?
It means you need to treat your business like a living, breathing experiment.
I love that idea from the end of our sources that every success story is just a final draft.
That's the thought I want everyone to hold on to. When you look at a successful business, you're seeing the polished final draft. You don't see the messy first attempts.
The terrible marketing campaigns they deleted.
The nights they almost ran out of cash. The failures are just the edits. They're the necessary edits. The goal isn't to be perfect on day one.
It's to survive the edits long enough to get to that final draft.
That's it. If you can shift your mindset from I must not fail to I must learn from this fast, your odds go up dramatically.
So take a look at your business. Are you looking at a mirage? Is your storefront silent? Or are you ready to be the CEO who adapts?
And ask yourself, is your life funding your business or is your business funding your life?
That is the ultimate question. Survival isn't an accident, it's a blueprint.
Thanks for diving in with us.
My pleasure.
Now go check that cash flow. We'll see you next time.